Hello, and welcome to Susu's Kindergarten Videos. Today, we are going to talk about forcing bulbs. And you may say to yourself, force a bulb? How do you do that? How do you get a bulb to do anything? Well, we are going to trick this bulb into thinking that it is springtime and it's time to flower, when in reality, it's winter time. So these are daffodils or Narcissus. That's the genus that they're in, Narcissus. And they are called paperwhites. And paperwhites are not hardy in Southwest Virginia where we live. We live in the hardiness zone of 6. And in order to be able to grow paperwhites, you have to live in at least a zone 8. And that's going to be further south of us. North Carolina, South Carolina is where you're going to get into zone 8. But that doesn't stop us from having paperwhites bloom in our homes in the wintertime. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. First of all, these have already had their chilling period, which means they've been kept at a cold temperature for a certain number of weeks, and they've already set their bud or initiated their bud inside of the bulb in order to bloom. Because if they don't have their cold period, they are not going to bloom for us. But I know that these have already been chilled, pre-chilled, and all I have to do now is to put them in water and light in order to get them to grow and develop and bloom. Now, I went to my local garden center yesterday to pick these up. I went to Crow's Nest Greenhouse, which is owned and operated by Jay Smith. And I love going to Crow's Nest because they always have what I need, and I always go there to get my paperwhites and a lot of other things. So I always enjoy my visits there. But I'm sure you have a great garden center nearby that will carry these paperwhites. And they're called paperwhites because they have a white flower, and the flowers are very delicate, and they are very thin like paper is. So I like to grow my paperwhites in a glass container. You don't have to, but I use this glass container for a lot of things. You can see where I've taken my gourds and my cones and acorns out from this container, which I used as fall decoration. And now I'm ready to move into the winter, and I use this container for other things. One is my paperwhites. So the first thing you want to do is to layer some stone on the bottom of your container so that the bulbs are not going to sit completely in water. And then you want to just arrange the bulbs around the edge and in the center of the cylinder. And you want to get them as upright as you possibly can. Now, once they start to grow, the buds are going to straighten up. Right now, they're kind of curved, but they will straighten up eventually. And then you want to add a few more stones down into the cylinder so that it will help the bulbs stay upright in the container, especially when you add the water to the container. So there you have them kind of arranged all the way around the edge, and there's one in the center. And then I'm going to add water. And if you remember, this is the basil plate right here on the bottom of the bulb, and you can see the old roots that are there from last year. And you want to get the water probably just above the basil plate. And then in about a week, you are going to see the roots start to develop around the edge of the basil plate. So once you've got all your bulbs oriented correctly in your container, then you're just going to add some water to the container. And you, like I said, you don't want it to get too deep. You want to go just above the basil plate. And you can see that in there right now where the water level is. And you want to keep that monitored, the water level, so that there's always water there, and because it's going to have water in it in order for the roots to be able to take up the water. But here in about a week, you're going to begin to see the roots come out, and then they will encircle this entire container all the way around the bottom, and it's very cool to watch. That's why I like to use a glass container so that I can see the roots develop. But if you don't have a glass container, you can use any kind of container. You can even put soil in a plastic container. It doesn't really matter. I just like to use glass because I can see through it and I can watch the roots develop. But this is a holiday tradition of mine. Every year, the week of Thanksgiving, I will always go out and get my paperwhites and plant them, and they should be ready to bloom by Christmas time. So this does get me in the holiday spirit, and it kind of kicks off my personal season. And so I'm really excited to do this and to share this with you. And perhaps you can go out to your garden center and purchase some paper whites and watch them grow. It's very nice to have flowers in the wintertime when it's cold and wet and snowy outside, and you've got a little bit of color, a few flowers inside to enjoy to get you through the wintertime. So happy Thanksgiving. Love you.